The internet's on fire. Patrick Clancy's got a secret double life. Patrick Clancy, not Lindsay. Patrick Clancy is the one responsible. This is an unbelievable development in what people are saying, what people are talking about. Did not expect this. This came out of like left field for me. Patrick Clancy's connection, responsibility for what happened to his children. Not like he should have done more to help his wife. No, more like he had a double life, didn't want his wife, didn't want his kids, and got rid of them all. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Because the internet has gone bonkers on this, like blowing up. And I'm trying to figure it out. All day long, I've been digging deep, trying to figure out what is the basis of all of this. So we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about everything from the timeline to the shoes. As we take a look at Patrick Clancy, not Lindsay Clancy, Patrick Clancy, the evidence, the skeptics, the allegations, and is there anything to back this up? I'm Vinnie Politan. It's Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got another big week coming up on Court TV on this case against Lindsay Clancy. But here in this video, we're going to talk about Patrick Clancy. This is Vinnie Live.
True crime, streaming live, worldwide it's Vinnie Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide it's Vinnie Live. Get ready to post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set to like and to subscribe. Get ready, it's time for Vinnie Live.
Fasten your seatbelts. We're going there. We're going to go there. I'll go there. Why not go there tonight? Let's just do it. I mean, I'm surprised. At times I was baffled, but then I started digging in to figure out what people were talking about. Because let me just start with this premise, okay? The premise of Patrick Clancy's involvement is that neither the prosecution nor the defense is talking about that. The prosecution nor the defense. And why is that important? Why is that important? Kevin Reddington, you've been watching him. I told you about it. I was telling you for months leading up to this trial about her lawyer, Kevin Reddington, and how good he is, how thorough he is, and how persuasive he can be, and how on point, how he takes control of a courtroom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If there was evidence that Lindsay didn't actually do it, do you think that they would be relying upon the hope of a not guilty because of a lack of criminal responsibility? An NCR, which doesn't set her free initially, confines her until she's no longer a danger to herself or to others. But it's a defense that runs many risks with it. Because the first thing you have to do when you claim that is basically admit that you did it. The lack of criminal responsibility is not saying you're not responsible for the act, but you're not criminally responsible for the act because of your mens rea, your state of mind. So this is a big premise you have to think about when you're thinking about the things we're going to talk about here. It's like, if there was a there, why wouldn't Kevin Reddington go there of all defense attorneys? With that much experience and that smart and the ability to find reasonable doubt wherever it lurks. This is not the Karen Reed case. There's no alternative theory inside the courtroom bubbling up with the people involved that anyone other than Lindsay Clancy actually did what caused the death of her 3 children. Now, there could be arguments about the treatment, the medications, should he have left the house, like all of that. Yes, you can talk about that. But nowhere, anywhere, have I seen inside that courtroom anything about her not doing it, committing the act. It's not there. If there was evidence there, wouldn't Kevin Reddington take advantage of it? Of course he would. Because he has for decades and decades in criminal courtrooms all across the state of Massachusetts. But he hasn't. Now, the other thing is, once we dive into these, again, we're going to dive into these theories and the skeptics, etc. There's not going to be evidence in this trial to refute any of this because neither side is alleging any of this. This is another big premise you have to understand. That if someone was alleging, like the defense was alleging that Patrick was the one responsible, then prosecutors would put in more evidence to demonstrate that he didn't do it. But they're not doing that. So all these pieces, Apple Watch, shoes, timeline, etc. If there were some questions or some problems, there would be more evidence about it to demonstrate that it's not plausible. But you're not going to see that evidence. And I don't want you to take the fact that you're not seeing that evidence, that the evidence doesn't exist. It's just no one needs that evidence because neither the prosecution nor the defense is saying that Patrick did it, is saying anything other than, yes, Lindsay did it. But the question is, was she or was she not mentally ill? Was it the mental illness that caused it, or was it Lindsay that caused it? Lindsay's mental illness. It's not gonna be there. It's not gonna happen. It has not been part of any of the pretrial litigation leading up to this. It was not part of any opening statement, which is the roadmap of the case. None of that exists. And some of these things which are sort of simmering and bubbling could be potentially disproved, but won't be in this trial because it's not an issue. So those are two big premises that you have to understand. That it makes a lot of this, puts it in a very different place than when, for instance, the Karen Reed trial, when you were talking about people inside the house, 34 Fairview, and you didn't see evidence, but you saw something, but you didn't see anything to refute it, then, it made sense because no one was conceding that Karen Reed was responsible. Quite the opposite. But that's not this case. That's not this trial. That's not what the evidence is going to be presented inside the courtroom. So let's start just by going through the timeline. And I'll pop this up on the screen for you. And the timeline is sort of important here. It's important for both sides in the issue that's before the court, which is her mental state. But how does it impact Patrick Clancy? 402, Lindsay searches for kids' Miralax on her cell phone, uses Apple Maps to calculate the driving distance from their Duxbury home to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. Is someone saying that she's not doing that search? Is he doing that search for her? Is he setting up this whole thing to make her believe that she did it? Is that what's going on here? Like, I'm trying to understand, because Lindsay herself is not saying that she didn't do it. Like, Lindsay herself is not saying that. Is this some sort of movie where the husband is so controlling that he can make her feel like she's losing her mind and she doesn't know reality? Like, is he really doing that to her while her parents are there? All right, 413, Lindsay searches for the 3V restaurant online. Is that him or her? Is he searching? 447, Lindsay calls the CVS pharmacy in Kingston to check if they stock children's Miralax. The manager confirms they don't, but have alternatives. 453, Lindsay texts Patrick, who's in the basement, home office, asks if he wants to do takeout from 3V since she didn't cook. Patrick agrees. Did he take her phone and start doing? Is this like all the setup? This is part of the setup by Patrick? This is part of his elaborate. How far back does his plan go? Does he know that in the first two pregnancies there was some level of postpartum issues? Some level? And he said, let's have another baby because we could really ramp it up. Then I can really push her over the edge. Like, I'm trying to understand that. Doesn't make sense to me. 506, they text back and forth, finalizing their meal choices. Risotto, Mediterranean Power Bowl. Is this fake also? Like, again, as you think about this, this alternative theory by the skeptics that neither the prosecution nor defense know what happened here. Like, neither one of them have any clue of what happened. Like, the people whose job it is to know the case inside and out. All the investigators, from Massachusetts, DA's office, state police, all those people. Kevin Reddington, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the state of Massachusetts, if not the best, has no clue what happened here. He didn't figure it out. The guy who has spent hundreds of hours going through every piece of evidence in this case has no clue about what really happened. Because that's what we're saying here. Once you say this alternative theory is what happened, what you were saying, like, and it's in Karen Reed, you're pointing the finger at the people who are investigating the case. So there's a reason why they didn't figure it out, right? At least there's a plausible argument as to why they wouldn't figure it out, because they knew what really happened. They didn't want to know what really happened. Versus this case where they want to figure it out. Are they that bad? Is Patrick Clancy that good? Is he really that good? That he outsmarted the Massachusetts State Police, the DA's office, and the best criminal defense attorney in the state of Massachusetts, and his in-laws, and convinced his wife that she did it. That's the premise here. You can't just pick and say, ooh, what about this? What about that? No, it's the whole thing. You've got to believe the whole thing. And Patrick Clancy was able to do this. 5:10, Lindsay calls to place the takeout order under Patrick's name. Was it Patrick? Was it Lindsay? Lindsay texts Patrick at 5:15, asking him also to pick up Pedialyx liquid stool softener at CVS, which then prompts him to leave. That would be Patrick texting himself to remind himself to get that as well. Because he knows he has to create a longer trip in order to make it seem like his wife was able to pull this off. I guess that would be the premise of that. Because you can't just pick a little fact here, a little fact there, a pair of shoes, an Apple Watch, and say, whoa. No. It's got to be the whole picture. The whole picture. If that's what you're saying, then it's got to be the whole picture, not a little piece like, oh, what is that? It's not just what is that. All right, what is that, and how does that relate to Lindsay Clancy being convinced that she did it, the DA being completely fooled by Patrick, Massachusetts State Police, Kevin Reddington and his investigators. All of them got it. They all got it wrong. All the people who got paid to investigate this and who have investigated homicides for decades all got fooled by Patrick Clancy. That's the premise. Let's get to the next piece of the timeline. 5:32, 5:33, surveillance video captures Patrick arriving at the CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. Patrick tries calling Lindsay to confirm which specific alternative medicine to buy. She does not answer. Lindsay calls Patrick back. She doesn't answer because she's gone already. And then he calls himself back. And we'll get into the details of all of them, but this is where the Apple Watch comes into play. The 14-second phone call takes place while he's at the pharmacy counter. He notes she sounds quiet and busy. He's lying. He's making that up. He checks out CVS 5:37. 5:54 p.m. Patrick arrives at the 3V restaurant in Plymouth, pays for the food order, and heads back towards the house. And then at 6:09, he arrives back at the Duxbury residence, notices an unusual silence, calls out for his family, no response, discovers a locked second-story bedroom with blood on the floor and an open window, finds Lindsay injured outside of the ground. He calls 911 at 6:11. During the call, he learns the children are in the basement and rushes down to find them. So that's the so in that timeline, there's a lot of lies, and it's a big setup by him. Okay. Let's dive in a little bit. I had to take notes on some of this. I'm referring to my notes here. Let's start with the Apple Watch. So people are saying, and I picked out some actual quotes that I saw in different places. Patrick used Lindsay's Apple Watch to fake a phone call from CVS to establish an alibi after harming the family. Okay. It's sort of an alibi, right? Like, hey, I'm over here. She called in the order. I went to go pick it up, and I came back and she was gone. Right? They're saying he used her Apple Watch to answer the call he made to her from CVS, creating a theory that he used her device to make it appear she answered while she was already incapacitated, claiming he's a tech guy and he would know this. So he's sort of a tech savvy guy. He would know how to do that. Now, could you prove where those phone calls were made? What cell phone towers they bounced off of? Did they bounce off the same one? Yeah, you probably could. If someone is calling an Apple Watch, I don't think the Apple Watch will distinguish between which device actually picks it up. Apple doesn't distinguish. It's either your phone, maybe your computer, or a watch. I don't think you can necessarily tell from those records. I don't think a Cellbrite would do it either. But you have to go off probably the cell towers to figure out where something is. But none of that was done. Like, that's like, I don't think it's going to be part of this case. They don't need to do that in this case. They don't need to establish where he is and where she is. Like, they know where she's found. He's on video. He's testifying about where he is. This is not a case where you would need the cell phone tower data unless someone was saying that Patrick Clancy was calling himself, but nobody's making that allegation. So this is one of those circumstances where the theory, the alternative theory here cannot be, or likely will not be, discredited in any way because it's not being made. But it potentially could be if you wanted to. But why would you? Because no one's making this argument other than people who are watching the case and saying, well, what about this? What about that? Like, I get it. We all should be skeptical. The jury should be skeptical of the evidence of both sides. Of course they should be. That's healthy for the system. However, there are certain ramifications of it. If you're skeptical about this evidence and, oh, well, he could have called from his Apple Watch. Yeah, he could have done that, but there's no evidence that he did, but there's no evidence that he didn't, because it's not an issue, which means this will remain unresolved. So people who want to believe this, there will be nothing to necessarily debunk it or to disprove it, because the type of evidence to disprove it is irrelevant to the trial that we're watching. So it's just not going to happen. You're not going to see it. But don't forget everything else that comes along with him doing this. It's not just him doing this. It's everything else that he has to do and all the other people that he has to fool. This next issue is probably the one that gave birth to a lot of this, which is Patrick had a secret double life. Of course he did, because he got remarried. Because he went through this tragedy and somehow was able to start another life and found someone to start that life with and to start presumably a family with. And they're in New York, which is the same place where he took a 2-day trip a month before the murders. So, did he meet her in this 2-day trip? Was he already with her for this 2-day trip? Or did he fall head over heels on this 2-day trip to New York? Help me understand this double life. When did it start? How much before? So, was this the beginning of it, or was this just part of the continuation of it? The double life had been going on for some time, and he just snuck a little trip for 2 days to New York. And there was trouble. They were sleeping in separate rooms. We heard about that. One sleeping in the basement, one sleeping upstairs because Lindsay allegedly couldn't sleep through the night. Or was it something else? There was trouble in paradise. Or did you have mental illness in the home and things were upside down, inside out, a little chaotic? 3 young children and mental illness and a dad working from home, all inside those, 2,000 square feet? A little chaotic in the home? Is Lindsay scrambling? Or is this marriage over? Like, it's over. I'm trying to figure out. You've got 3 kids at home, a wife who's struggling with mental illness. You literally work from home. You've got a little baby, 2 other little, like all 3 kids need something at all times. And mom is struggling, right? I think she is. I mean, that's what this trial's about, isn't it? Like, when did he have time for the second life? I'm looking at it. He doesn't even have time for this life. He has time for a second life, a double life, another wife in New York. Where are the phone records? Kevin Reddington would find those phone records. Are you troubled by the fact that he moved out of the house where his 3 little children lives were taken? Who would stay in that house? To me, it's even, there's some people who wouldn't even move into a house where this tragedy was someone else's family, yet your own family. Is he really going to stay in that house? Is he going to live in the suburbs of Massachusetts? Think about the level of loss and devastation that's being alleged here, right? I know you don't believe it, but that's being alleged here. If someone had gone through that, and we've seen it in another cases, I saw it in Connecticut. There was a home invasion. A father, his wife, his daughters all taken hostage, his whole family gone. Somehow he survived the whole thing. He was a broken man. They wanted to change the laws in Connecticut for the D-pen because of this case. And that guy had to go on with his life. And he did. And I think he actually got remarried. I think he found someone. Is he entitled? Is he allowed? My guess is he probably had some therapy along with that also. But are you troubled by the fact that he moved on in his life? He turned the page? Or is he supposed to just stop living? And what's the right time period? Does he have to dress in all black for the rest of his life? What is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? What is the game plan? Where's the instructions for what you're supposed to do? If again, presuming you believe what prosecutors and the defense are saying here, both, like everybody in the courtroom is saying, what is he supposed to do? Personally, I'm happy that he was able to turn a page. That devastation he's got to live with every day. But to be able to rebuild your life, I'm glad he was able to do that. What do we want? We want him to become like an alcoholic? Do we want him to be just like holed up in his house, in his room, just sitting there, waiting to die? Like, what is he supposed to do? There's no game plan for this. And in his plan, he went into the biggest city in the country where nobody would know him and started fresh. Left the suburbs of Massachusetts, big city, New York, where I guess he had some connection to through work. Okay. Getting through this. We'll get to the shoes. Now, some people are saying that because Lindsay couldn't really speak or communicate, Patrick could not have learned from her where the children were. Here's a direct quote that I found. First responders and hospital staff testified that Lindsay Clancy was largely unresponsive, nonverbal. Lots of speculation that Lindsay would have been unable to have told Patrick where the children were, but he ran straight to the basement after paramedics arrived. This is, for the people that believe this is like it's not a big house. He's lying that she said basement. That's what she said. She's lying about that. She didn't say that because he had already thrown her out the window, I guess. She was still alive. She was in a really bad state of mind, but she was alive. So there, you're just going to believe he lied. That one, again, like, there's not going to be extra testimony about her level of communication outside at that moment. I mean, I don't know how deeply you dive into all of it to try to prove that. But it's not going to be disproven. Like, you're just going to take it for what it is. But remember, okay, so there's no way. So take the theory now, the Clancy theory, put him on trial. Do you think you could, do you think you could indict him? Do you think this is enough to indict him? She's not responsive. He went on a business trip to New York. She was sleeping downstairs. He was sleeping upstairs. What else was there? He could have called from the Apple Watch and the shoes. Let's get to the shoes. Users are alleging that the restaurant and the CVS footage show him in different footwear, sneakers and boots. Sneakers and boots. All right, so I grabbed someone's post on this. Let me just find it really quickly. I had it here a minute ago. So to me, this is one like you can see, right? It's up to interpretation. Now, I made some extra markings on this. The arrows were from the original post, from a skeptic. The sloppy circles that are made on here are from me. So let me show this to you. Let's examine this. All right, so CVS, he's got the brown boots coming in. I want you to point out something else here that I find really strange, right? With the CVS footage itself, which are the two images on top. When he's in the vestibule, he has black hair. But then when he steps into CVS, he changes hair color. He now has brown hair. Why did he change his hair color? Why did he change his hair color from black to light brown? Why did he do that? I'm trying to figure that out. But the boots there, you can see they are sort of brownish, right? Now go to the bottom, because on the bottom left over at 3V, he's got the light brown hair again. He didn't change it back to the black hair when he's in the vestibule. There you can see his tennis shoes / sneakers. However, also at the restaurant, while he's unzipping his coat versus his half-zip jacket at CVS, it looks like he put one boot back on. If you look on that right leg, it looks like he went to 3V, his left shoe as a tennis shoe, but when he first walked in, he had the boot on the right-hand side because that looks like the CVS boot. But then when he went back online, then he changed back into it looks like back into the tennis shoe on his right foot. Why is he doing that? What is he hiding? What is that proof of? So you take these images, you talk about the Apple Watch. Lindsay couldn't have communicated. How did she know where the basement was? He went to New York, then married someone years later. Could you get an indictment? Like, which is just enough to make an arrest. Not prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, but could you get an indictment? No, you couldn't. Now, let's presume the shoes are switched. What does that mean? Like, what does that even mean? By the way, we've seen the testimony about the blood in the house. He's bloodless here in these images. Where's his bloody clothes? Where are his bloody shoes? Or did the boots have blood on them and then he had to change back into the sneakers? Just trying to figure it out. Well, I guess you know where I land on this. I'm not buying it. I will always say skepticism is healthy. Every jury should have it. Every journalist should have it. But unfortunately, like the there is not there. The there isn't there. How does any of this add up to what is being alleged here? Which is that Patrick, and why didn't anyone else put the pieces together? Like these pieces don't even fit together for me. It's not like, missing pieces of a tail light. This is not it. This is completely different. This is the DA and the state police say one thing after hundreds of hours of investigation. Kevin Reddington and the defense team, after hundreds of hours of investigation, say something similar about how the children died, but they disagree about the why of it. And now over here is the actual truth, which no one else could find. Let me fill you in on something. I've been at Court TV longer than any human on the face of the earth. There are little things like this in every single trial. Every single trial. There are little things, sometimes they're much bigger than this, that don't make common sense because we don't know everything. And not every question gets answered all the time. And there's sometimes weird things that sometimes neither side can explain. But there are certain hardcore facts that exist in cases. And trust me, every criminal defense attorney knows their case pretty well. And they're always reaching for that reasonable doubt wherever it could be. In this case, nobody's reaching over here. Nobody is reaching over here. And you have to ask yourself why they aren't. Could it be that there's nothing there? Okay. All right. Enough of me. Got a lot of folks on here on a Sunday night, so I'm going to get through some comments. I've got some things to get to. But at least you kind of get where I'm coming from in all of this. I just don't think there's a there there. Right, let me leave the shoes. I'll leave the shoes up there. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start to scroll. And wow, have I been going that long? Sorry, I went longer than I thought I was gonna go. But I wanted to get through all of it for you. And now we can have the conversation. Let me just make my way through all of this. Okay. All right, folks, let's get to your comments. But there's nothing here that, from my perspective, you would put in front of a grand jury. There was nothing even here that would even raise a reasonable doubt if the other side was arguing this. Like, even if Reddington was arguing this, I think a lot of people are like, what, really? The husband did it? That's what you're saying? Like, the husband did it? Like, there are certain times where, yes, we all kind of agree the husband did it. Matter of fact, I think there's a country song about that. But a real good conversation. I'm looking at some of these comments here, and what I want to do is, let's see. Some cases are a whodunit. This is not a whodunit. This is not a whodunit. Like, no one's alleging that it's a whodunit, right? Except some skeptics. But it's a large, by the way, I posted on the YouTube in the community section, the post section. I asked, do you believe Patrick Clancy is responsible? We've got a few hundred votes, right? And about 17% of you are skeptical. A little higher than I thought it would be. I thought we were going to be in that 10% range, but 17 is an interesting number. It's not negligible. So I'm wondering now, if this is happening, could it potentially happen in the jury room? It wouldn't be outrageous. I mean, I've had cases with juries. I've spoken to them afterwards. That, like, hey, this person's on trial for this, and then the jury's like, why didn't they charge that person over there? Like, it does happen. So the jury does have a mind of their own. Each side can present their evidence, but they can go wherever they want. And sometimes they do. Whether it's one, two, or more of them. So 17%, again, the numbers are a little low right now. We got to get into the thousands. I just posted it. To me, ends up being an actual issue. All right, let's Let's get things started here. That was a long one for me. All right. I think you're gonna like this. I think you're gonna like this. Here we go.
Get happy. It's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile. 'Cause here comes Max Spunky.
All right, the new McSpunky video has been done. Here's to you, McSpunky. Thank you, sir. Vin, Jennifer Sube, Frankie Figs, April Diaz, and y'all. Cheers from McSpunky 6.9 on this Sunday night. I hope you appreciate all the efforts. McSpunky. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep him up there for just a second. The legendary McSpunky, ladies and gentlemen. The legendary McSpunky. All right, I'm going to remove that. And okay. Thank you, McSpunky. Here's one from Lizzie Yordy. Personally, I wouldn't care if he got married a year later. Why shouldn't he? It wasn't him who did it. Again, for the skeptics, just for a moment, think about, okay, Lindsay actually did it, and he went through all of that. What's the playbook? What are the rules? Tough spot. Tough spot. If you believe what the prosecution and defense are saying, like if you believe what they're saying, and the investigators are both sides, not just the lawyers, but the investigators. If you believe what they're saying and what they believe happened here, how tough of a spot is Patrick Clancy in? Like you just want to leave. Like, do you want to be in that house? Do you want to be in that town? Do you want to be recognized by all these people, or you just want to go to the biggest city, 8 million people, or however many live there now, and just kind of get lost in the crowd and start all over again? To me, that always made sense. And then he met somebody. All right, let me keep scrolling through here. Oh, Lizzie Yordy. She gives her own account of the whole day, down to what she said to kids as she unalived them in her civil file. She's not alleging she didn't do it. Like, she's not. Like, there's no one saying that. But is she lying about that to get the money? I mean, that's what that would be the next logical step. Okay, let's go there. Thank you, Lizzie Yordy. If in fact Patrick did it, Lindsay has either been convinced by his manipulative behavior, that he's controlling her to make her believe that she did it, or she's lying about doing it so she can grab some money from those evil doctors. And that was part of the whole thing. This was all a profit deal. I'm going to start a new life, file a civil lawsuit, get a bag of money from there, get a bag of money from my GoFundMe, and take a few months off, relax, and hang out in my double life. That's what you're saying. And Lisa Mitchell, WV. Yes, years ago, my mom's friend was hospitalized for postpartum psychosis. Thought she was Jesus, but was never violent. This is a very sad and mind-boggling case. Thank you for sharing that. Never violent, thank goodness. So can it manifest itself in different ways? The experts will tell you, yes, it can. It can lead to violence. In the case of Andrea Yates, it led to, she thought she was saving her children. Here, there's a little bit of that, but not really. It's more that she couldn't control her actions. She couldn't comport her actions. The mental illness took over her mind, and she no longer had the ability to stop it. Postpartum psychosis is real. And I think what you're going to have the experts agree on is that it can manifest itself in different types of behaviors. The question is always not what could it do, but what did it actually do in this case? And that's what prosecutors have to prove and disprove at the same time. They have to prove she's responsible by disproving that it was the mental illness. Thank you, Lisa Mitchell. Got a big crowd here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Pussycat TV, justice for Wairiana Wright. 12 years ago, she was tortured and thrown from a 14 floors balcony. He recorded the whole night. Her murderer was found not guilty. Oh, I got to get closer to my mic. People aren't hearing me. I'm always afraid that I'm too loud. Okay, can you read me? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ba, 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 na, 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 na. All right. For those of you who believe your post may have been skipped, right now I am 40 minutes behind in the posts. I scroll from the beginning. So chances are that you were not skipped. It all depends on the time of the post, because I do my little thing off the top and then I go back to the beginning of the comments so as to not miss any. Now, this is interesting from Tro Taylor. I do believe he was cheating and that this would be a brilliant way to pull a Chris Watts, but that's too much. That's too much. Okay, this could be like a very intricate plan. By the way, I don't know how I missed it, but yesterday, after my baseball, I played a baseball doubleheader yesterday. I was exhausted. I couldn't move. So I just turned on the TV and I watched Gone Girl. And I had never seen it. The one with Ben Affleck. Affleck. That's a movie. That could never happen in real life. But that's kind of almost what's being alleged here. That it's that diabolical of a plan to frame someone else and fool all the investigators just like the Gone Girl did. But even she got caught in the end, sort of. Not really. Like, he figured it out. One investigator figured it out, but the FBI couldn't figure it out. Oh, did I give away the movie? Sorry. I think the movie's more than a decade old. I'd never seen it before. I'm sure all of you saw the movie. I thought I had seen it, but I didn't. Anyhow, it's like 2.5 hours. But that's like this. That's not real. That's not real. Like, I've never, the only trial that I think I've seen like a successful quasi-defense of framing, it was Karen Reed, which still wasn't a true case of framing. It was a reasonable doubt case in the end. It wasn't like at the end people say, aha, we know exactly what happened now. But it was as close as I've ever come in my years at Court TV. This would be another one of those. This would be another framing in Massachusetts. What a coincidence. The framing capital of the country now. Thank you, Tro. Tro thinks it's too much. I agree. I agree. Like, he's not Gone Girl. He's not Gone Girl. There were a couple things in that movie I was not expecting. A couple things I kind of saw coming a mile away, but it was a good one. I stayed awake, which is rare, even though I was exhausted from baseball. And we did win both games. Da-da-da. Stay awesome. Stay awesome. Is that gotta be from Massachusetts? Stay awesome. I'm surprised, Vinnie, you're so staunchly uninterested in alternative theories. I am so uninterested that I'm doing an entire live stream on it. Of course I'm interested. That's why we're doing the video. Like, I could be interested, but I could also not believe it. And it's an alternative theory that nobody is talking about inside the courtroom. And I don't think anyone's going to talk about it in the courtroom, but maybe, if it's 17%, maybe a couple jurors will be talking about it, and then you've got a problem, prosecution. Mm-hmm. All right, Vicky Thomas. Vinny, your microphone's not working. Yeah, I was trying not to scream because that's kind of loud tonight. I didn't want to scream in it, but I will. I'll scream. You'll hear me. Oh, you're going to hear me. All right. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate it. Okay. Boom. I'm a that I am. I am. I'm a that I am. I'm a fat. I am 88. I'm sorry I'm butchering. I'm trying to figure it out. Usually I can figure these out. This one I can't. I think it's all caps. It's strange he never shed a tear during the trial. Like what I saw from him was like his eyes. Like I saw pain in his eyes. I saw disdain in his mouth because he does not believe that his ex-wife should be tried. He does not believe it was her. He believes her defense, that it was the mental illness. That's what I saw from him. Anger in being there. Anger in having to go through all of this. And not believing as a victim. Because he's the victim here. He's the victim in this case. Like we the family members in a Red Rum case are the victims. The living victims. Stacy, NYC. A little bit of attitude, Stacy. I can see it in the photo. Good. I like that. Cases are open to conspiracies because we aren't always privy to all the facts. Right. But what I was trying to explain, and I hope I was clear about this, is that some of the things people are latching on to you're not going to get more information about them because they're not really a part of the trial. They're not an issue in question. And because they're not an issue in question, you're not going to get the stuff that could potentially disprove what people are alleging is possible. Whereas in other cases, if it was an issue, someone would try to prove that it wasn't possible. And if they couldn't, then it becomes much more plausible. All right. All right, I think I'm getting much more up to speed here. I just saw people talking about McSpunky's new video. All right, see Marcus. I can't see any evidence Patrick did it. He has a digital alibi. That, and there was blood involved here. And I'm looking at those videos. I don't see the blood on the videos. Maybe you see it. I don't see it. But thank you, C. Marcus. Vicky Thomas 179. Vinny, we can't hear you. I'm trying to get there. Trying to get there. And let me see if I can find Kelly McClellan. Kelly, I've got to find your post. Kelly McClellan. I have not seen it, but I know it exists. I'm trying to get the time. Do we have the time on that? It'll be easier to find. Kelly McClellan. I'll find it. Pussycat TV, mental health A&E just opened up in my city in UK. All right. Good to hear. All right, I've got to find Kelly McClellan. How did I miss that one? I'll read it in the meantime. Did I miss that? Or is that from the last time? I don't even know when this is from. Maybe that's from last time. All right. All right. By the way, folks, got some goodies. Oh, this is interesting. Rochelle Giray. People are Candace Owensing this. Is that a new verb? And common sense investigator. There's zero evidence for any of this garbage. Okay. Like I said, skepticism, healthy. But when you have that skepticism, I want you to take the next step. And it's not just, well, what about this? All right, well, what about this? What does that mean? And then what does that mean in the big picture in the allegation you're making? So once again, if you believe that Patrick Clancy is the one responsible here, he fooled the DA, he fooled Massachusetts State Police, he fooled Kevin Reddington, and he fooled Kevin Reddington's investigators, and he fooled Lindsay Clancy, or she's in on it. Is she in on it? Now, how does it... Was it her mental illness that drove him over the edge that wanted to set her up for this? I can't deal with 3 kids and a mentally ill wife. I've just got to end it all. Was that the motivating factor? Or was the motivating factor, I've got to make my wife seem like she's crazy? Because we've seen that in the movies many times. People used to do that. Like they literally did that. But this is different than convincing someone that they're mentally ill and then getting rid of them and moving on in your life. This is next level stuff because you're at these 3 little angels that are gone. And McSpunky loves the new video. Yes. 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 All right. Thank you, McSpunky. Jane Baca, I hope you're coming to Plymouth, Vinny. I do not believe I'll be there, but we'll see. For a verdict, maybe? Is that possible? On the ground for a verdict? Is it cold up there? No, it's not cold. It's the summer. How hot is it up there right now? I'll have to get up there. Let me see. Got this from 4 Husky Homestead. Postpartum psychosis is a very serious mental condition, but I've learned that certain medications can cause a psychosis. Lindsay didn't get proper help from the doctors or her husband. And to me, there's a much bigger debate right there. And that's where we've got. So where we are right now is there's a split. It's about 50-50, a little bit more people leaning towards Lindsay should be found NCR, not criminally responsible for what she did in the polls that I've put up there. And that's like a real number. That's a real problem for prosecutors. A big one, right? Then you've got the 17%, which that number may change, but it's obviously much lower than that number that believe that something else is happening here. And we'll see if any of that creeps into the jury room. You've got 18 jurors, but 12 will deliberate. So you take 10% of 12, even if it's 10%, that's like one juror. One to two jurors. And here's Jenna Rocco. Jenna! I haven't seen evidence of psychosis yet. Well, that's interesting, right? Because we've had the treating physicians on. The defense hasn't started their case. Their experts will talk about it. But would you expect the defense to be able to prove part of their case through the prosecution case? In this scenario, I would say yes. So if you haven't seen evidence of psychosis yet, then I think that's bad news for the defense. Because I think they don't want to just rely upon their experts that they bring in. I think they want to rely upon, look at this. Look at all the medications. Remember when he was cross-examining and had the drawer from the nightstand, this bottle. So I think the defense would expect that they would make some headway during the prosecution case in building their reasonable doubt from the top down and then add to it during their own case and their own witnesses, their own experts. But we'll see. We'll see. Because you've got to convince all of them, all 12, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the psychosis exists and the psychosis caused it. She couldn't control it because of the psychosis. There was nothing she could do to stop it. Thank you, Jenna. Scarlett Renee, TCR, I hope LC gets the help she needs and this stops the stigma on women's mental health. I'm shocked that there is stigma. I thought we all kind of understood this, but maybe not. That it exists. I've known it for a long time. Then again, I've been working at Court TV longer than any human on earth. So maybe that's part of it, having watched some of these trials and listened to some of these experts. But the other part of this trial is I hope that this trial opens up some eyes to how we treat people who need help. Both family members and our mental health professionals. Oh, wait a minute. Slow down. Let's be real careful. Let's not rush through this. There's a lot at stake here. And you got 3 little children at home and someone's potentially having these thoughts. Lauren Abo, it's hot everywhere. 96 here. All right, thank you, Lauren. It's hot. All right. Ashley Bouchard, one member, of course, our legendary mod squad. Bob Mata is in Mass for this, I believe, too. Bob Mata on the road. Bob Mata on the road. Fantastic. And, of course, Ashley Bouchard, part of the great mod squad.
We are the Mod Squad.
Let's hear it for the Mod Squad. All right. Thank you, ladies. Getting it done. But why, 007? Does Vinny have to wear a scarf in his car if he goes to Plymouth? Oh. Ooh, this is interesting. Grateful 11.11. Good evening. Good evening, Vinny in chat. I didn't follow the trial, but I did see the husband's testimony, and I thought he appeared very defensive. Interesting. Direct and cross? Or just direct? Or just cross? That's an interesting read as defensive. All right. Hey, we got a question from Facebook from Marcia Burton. If she just snapped instead of being psychotic, could that qualify as NCR? Snapped. Used to be a show on Court TV called Snapped. Okay. It depends what caused the snap. So if it's not as if it's a snapping. By the way, I had this discussion the other day on snapping fingers with my nephews. They said, which finger do you use to contact your thumb when you snap? And I'm like, of course, it's the ring finger. Because when you're a jet, you're a jet. And they looked at me like I had three heads. They're like, no, it's the middle finger. Then one nephew started snapping with his pointer finger. And it was louder than all of us. And I was like, how does he even do that? Like I can, middle finger I can do a little bit, but anyhow, if you just snap, if you get angry, if you are provoked, it could be something less than red rum. It could be a manslaughter. If you snap, but it's not going to be an NCR. To be an NCR, it's got to be related to some level of mental illness. So the snap could get you down here, but it's not going to get you free from criminal responsibility. I hope that answers that question. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say. We all know she's a great fan, and we know the kind words she has. We always love to hear from you. Thank you, April Diaz.
All right, a big thank you to April Diaz. And you can see I bedazzled the April Diaz video as well. Happy Sunday, fellow chatters and Vinny. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm torn only because I know firsthand what those meds can make you think. The meds are an interesting issue here, right? Because the defense is putting the meds together with the psychosis, but it's like a misdiagnosis. So they're kind of pointing the finger at the doctors, didn't get it right. Wrong medication, too much medication. She is mentally ill. And it's like the perfect storm, the combination of all three that led to this. So they're not blaming just one thing. It's a combination of things that all came together in that moment. The question that I have for the defense in this, and to me, this is the biggest question. At what point did the psychosis start that day? Because I believe the evidence is clear from the timeline that she set this up for him to be out of the house. Was that part of the psychotic break? She's breaking from, she can't control herself, so now she's going to kick in and do her plan. So prosecutors are right that she's planning it, but she's planning it while being controlled by the psychosis. See, to me, this is really important. I think there's a potent, and I don't know what they're going to say at the end of this case or what the experts will say. But could the psychosis take control of you to the point that you are now planning and plotting this? So yes, the premeditation is there, the planning is there, but it's while you're under the psychosis. So it's irrelevant to the question. The entire foundation of the prosecution's case doesn't get them there if you believe the psychosis, or if they prove the psychosis is taking effect before she makes the calls and does all the planning and gets him out of the house. Or are they going to allege that it's just coincidental, that the psychosis did not hit her until he left the house? And it was just one of those days. She's having a great day. Let's get some dinner. I didn't cook. Yeah, you get some dinner. And then the moment he leaves, boom, that's when it hits her. That's the question that I want answered. I don't want gray area. You want me to find you not criminally responsible for what happened to those 3 innocent angels. Don't give me gray area. Tell me. So I think that's a challenge, potential challenge. Maybe it's not a challenge for the defense, but I want clarity on that. I want clarity. Thank you, April Diaz. There's another level of this. Thank you, Brenda, 3570. Anxiety, depression, insomnia. If you are not sleeping, that is like a recipe for disaster. Ask the sheriff in Kentucky who didn't sleep for 2 days before he took out the judge on video. Like, lack of sleep is very problematic. By the way, we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and on X. Want to hear from the folks on Twitch and X. Come on. I'm looking for you. Where are the Twitchers? Where are the Xers? And here's Laura Oki, 8368. I think she had a complete meltdown, not a mental break. When did the meltdown start? Again, I'd have the same question. Like you're not claiming that she's not criminally responsible, but I just want to know, when did that meltdown take place? Was it when Patrick left for those 55 minutes? Or was it beforehand that she had the meltdown and then say, I'm going to do something about it and I got to plan all this? That's what I want to know. This is interesting. I asked my husband how he would respond to just the open window part. He said, get my gun out and clear the house and property, then call the cops. Missing kids get looked for right away. Well, the window's open and he saw blood. How would you respond in the moment? Are we alleging that he didn't respond properly in that moment? I've learned a long time ago that it's hard to predict in a very stressful, unexpected moment in an ordinary day. You don't know what you would do. You don't know how you would act. You don't know how you would react. In a traumatic, stressful situation. You don't know. I wonder if Megan Sue's husband is law enforcement or military. Or has family members, like, I don't know, like maybe trained in something like that. I think that's a very, very, I think the response, I think if you had 10 men, you might get 7 different responses to that, exactly what they would do. I don't think they would all react the same necessarily. Good conversation, by the way. And here's the great thing. You can disagree on what you think the outcome should be. That's why we have trials. And that's why there's 2 sides. That's why there's like arguments being made by both sides. And that's why sometimes juries don't agree with each other. Like, you can disagree. Just don't attack each other. Like, I'm always shocked. And I think the one real downside of the Karen Reed trial was the lack of meaningful back and forth discussion. Everybody got huddled in their safe chamber, and rarely was there an exchange of ideas. I try to do it every night on my show, bringing people with different perspectives so we could see it and hear it in real time, because nobody else was doing that. Nobody was having that discussion, that conversation, that disagreement, like back and forth. It was always one side amongst themselves attacking. It was never the back and forth, like you say something, I say something. You say something, I respond. You know, this is a good fact, this is a bad fact. And that trial became very divisive in an unhealthy way, that you couldn't have the conversation. I tried to open the door to that conversation. I mean, I got attacked by both sides. That's how I knew I was doing my job, number one. But number two, I was getting attacked from both sides because I was presenting good facts and bad facts for both sides. I was having guests from both sides, making arguments back and forth. Like, that's the nature of trials. Like, that's what they are. That's what a trial actually is. There's 2 sides arguing back and forth, and a judge and a jury making decisions based upon those arguments that you can agree with or disagree with. And sometimes the judge makes a decision. About that for a second. Judges disagreeing with one another. That's the nature of our system. Just don't make it doesn't have to be personal. You can agree to disagree, but you can have a vigorous debate without calling someone names. Ooh, Megan Sue. I think 2 things can be true. She had postpartum psychosis, and he used that to his advantage. I just have a hard time believing that he'd have to be a sociopath to do that to your 3 children if you're not suffering from mental illness, like completely sociopathic. But I guess it's possible. Mm-hmm. Here's Angela, MM90. Vinnie, I'm so tired of these mothers and people killing these innocent children and babies and blaming pharmaceutical companies and mental health. Bleep. Yeah. Well, what's also interesting, and I'm not going to do it in this video, but maybe in another video, is compare the way fathers versus mothers are perceived by the public, how they're treated by our system of justice. I think it's slightly different. Not always, but I think there's a difference there. And there could be an actual difference because we are different. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, folks, did you notice this shirt here? This is part of my true crime merchandise that we have. We also have this great, if you look closely, you could, if you put hot liquid in this, then you can see me, Al, and Jonesy from the Tangent True Crime Podcast. I have mugs, T-shirts, and I'd like to premiere for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is a world premiere. You ready? Of the newest version of the Vinnie Originale True Crime Merch Shop theme song. Are you ready? Please sit down for a second. I need your attention. I need your attention. Here we go. World premiere, ladies and gentlemen.
T-shirt and a hoodie, a beach towel and a mug. A new design from Vinnie is better than a drug. True crime merch, you know he did it. True crime merch, mark the exhibit. True crime merch, we hate Casey. True crime merch from Vinnie Originale. Our tangent stuff is great, unlike any others. Buy it now, don't wait. Perfect for all you mothers. True crime merch, allegedly. True crime merch, stepped on a bee. True crime merch, it's not free. True crime merch from Vinnie Originale.
All right. The new promo from the Vinnie Originale True Crime Merch Shop. We get great items like this. Whew. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. All right. We'll put the link up in the chat if you want to get some True Crime merch. Jenna Rocco's back. In Massachusetts, the Commonwealth has to prove the defendant was sane. The defense technically doesn't have to prove nothing. Seems backwards. Other states are the opposite. Oh, yeah, big. Thank you, Jenna. Big difference. And it's twofold. But the first one is you have to think about it this way because it becomes much larger in the way it's done. Most states, you allege legal insanity. It's an affirmative defense, so now the defense has to prove it. Not beyond a reasonable doubt, but usually like preponderance of the evidence. You have to prove it, right? So like if you look at the screen here, like I'm going like halfway up, that's about a little bit over half. You got to kind of prove it. And that's a big chunk of evidence. That's a big chunk of proof that you're going to need. But in Massachusetts, the burden, once you establish that there's an issue, and they've done that, that's obvious, now it's up to the prosecution, the Commonwealth, to prove that you're sane. So what you have to really do is disprove that the mental illness had any impact on her. But you got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, which means for the defense, for them to win, they don't need this much, which is what you need in most states. You need like this much. They just need this much. They just need the reasonable doubt part. Like just enough. It's possible it was the mental illness. There's a reasonable possibility that it was the mental illness. May not have been, but it might have been. That's all they got to show is this much. So this defense in Massachusetts, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than anywhere else in the country. As a matter of fact, go out to, is it Utah or Idaho? Utah or Idaho? I think it's Idaho. I always confuse Utah and Idaho. Get all those cases out there now. But they don't even have the defense. Like it doesn't even exist. like it does in other places. So, yeah, no, it's a burden. It's a burden. Advantage defense. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but they have an advantage that doesn't exist in other states. Thank you, Jenna. Gabriel, the Magalor, Maine. Gabriel, the Magalor, Maine. Thank you for the common sense and legal facts. Patrick is Batman. Thank you, Gabriel. Much appreciated. And Jenna Rocco, correcting the typo from the grammar. I meant they don't have to prove anything. But I think we got it. I think they don't have to prove nothing. Just is a lot stronger when you say it that way. All right. Let's see. Who else am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing one. Mm-hmm. GSX Heather, thank you. Thank you, GSX Heather. All right. I fell behind here a little bit. A little bit. And GSX Heather is back. I posed this question. If she would have killed 3 unrelated toddlers, would her criminal responsibility be in question? I love that. I love that. That brings me back to another point that I've made in many, many cases. And I think you're right on here, GSX. Why is there a sense of, not always, but sometimes there's more of a sense of forgiveness for parents who take out their own versus a stranger taking out someone else's children? When I would argue, like, and not so much guilty, not guilty, but in terms of the punishment. You know, it's like if you're some creepy stranger and you take someone else's child and do something to them, then you get the ultimate punishment. But if it's your own child, you get life. Whereas I believe it should almost be the opposite, because children trust and look at their parents in such a way that love and trust is unconditional, and they rely upon them for everything. And when you break that trust, I believe that's an aggravating factor. And those people should be punished even more than a stranger. Like, it's both are awful, but there's no way that they should be given less of a sentence. Now, here we're talking about the actual responsibility, right? But generally, I talk about this issue in terms of the punishment. Like, the punishment is greater for the stranger than it is for the parent, whereas the child was brought into the world by the parent. The parent made that decision to bring them in. It doesn't give them the right to take them out, obviously. But now transferring that to what GSX Heather has said here is a fascinating analysis. What if it was somebody else's? OPC, other people's children. What if it's OPC? I'll tell you right now, it would be a much more difficult case. You would not win. Yeah, I said it. You would not win. You would not win. There would be no sympathy for you. There would be that 52%, that's with Lindsay Clancy, would be at like 3%. Maybe 5%. Great question. All right. There we go. Nefertiti Kimagawa. I missed the "We Hate Casey" part. No, it's still in there. It's still in there. Do I have to show it to you? It's in there. I would not leave that out. The lyrics are exactly the same. And there's even an image of it in the video. So, no, it's still there. Thank you, Nefertiti. All right. Dia Kinslow, Vinny, thank you for changing the music. How about that? Lauren asking if that's Nick's wife. I think it is Nick's wife, right? I think. I presumed it was. The most. All right, Helen Fong, 3339. Why doesn't anyone talk about Lindsay using weed gummies? The prosecutor did, drinking almost every night on top of taking all those meds. I think the defense will argue that it was just a one-time deal with the weed gummies. But I'm sure prosecutors are going to hit it hard in their closing argument. Nothing gets by Helen Fong, but I think people will talk about it. I think people did at the time. Allie Blanche, Vin, he didn't do it. Also, she sobs but never shows her face. I have a problem with that. Doesn't care if we all hear her, though. Shoulder shaking is performative. But with the face, that's more of a camera angle thing than anything else. Some trials, you get more than one camera inside the courtroom. Sometimes you have a better angle than others. In this particular case, this courtroom, only one camera permitted. And the angle is a little bit on the side. So I don't know if that's purposeful. What's more important is probably what the jury can or cannot see. I think the jury's angle of her is a little bit better than ours, but still may not be great. All right. We've got a long one from the Facebook. Kelly Renning Hesse. I believe Lindsay experienced psychosis, but I'm still bothered by Patrick saying he was able to talk to her, but EMS said she could not make any meaningful statements. It just sits wrong with me. And then add in the shoes and different clothes. Then he comes home and says he took off his boots, but would have been wearing tennis shoes. So odd to me. Are they tennis shoes? Should we take another look? Thank you, Kelly. Well, see, the thing I'm going to point out here is that on the unzipping coat one, right? He's got one boot on. Like it looks like the CVS picture. If you look at the bottom right, top left, that looks like the same shoe. But then you look bottom left, it looks like he changed that right shoe because you can see a little piece of the front, a little piece of the back. The other thing that's interesting is when he went to 3V, his face lost all its color. Like he's got rosy cheeks, top right, bottom right, he's really pale. He looks guilty. He looks ghostly. Oh, wait a minute. Could that be the exposure of the camera? Can the exposure of the camera change the shading and coloring and details? Maybe. Maybe. Is his face that white? Like in the bottom right and bottom left? Look at that other guy. Look at his. You can't even tell like his hair is the same color as his face. What happened to that guy? Where's he from? It's surveillance video. It's surveillance video. At least it's not backwards. At least it's not reversed. But surveillance video is always going to be a little. I think it should be getting better. We got 4K, but it's never going to be perfect. I'm telling you, some of my TV jobs, the lighting was this bad. All right. Frankie Fig's in the house. She answered questions on a health questionnaire and said she drank a few times a week. It's a few more times than I do. Frankie Fig's, of course, part of the Great Mod Squad. Vice, W9T, Casey was there, definitely. Thank you. All right, the reviews are coming in. T. Mrozinski, I like the song. All right. Thank you. Everybody says it was a CBD gummy. Ashley Bouchard, weed is legal in Massachusetts. It's hardly a big deal here. Gringa, she didn't take her med, but she didn't really take her meds as prescribed. Hey, Lauren Abo. Oh, where is this? I gotta get Lauren Abo. I think Adam Montgomery deserves for the Red Rum of Harmony. Indeed. Not going to get it. As a matter of fact, he's getting a new trial. Crazy. But that's a parent. That's a father. So it's interesting, right? Like, I think a lot of people would agree with you there. But then when you talk about that woman down in Orlando, a lot of people said, "Oh, that case was overcharged. Shouldn't have been a death case down in Florida, down in Orlando." And by the way, Ashley Bouchard reminding me that today would have been Kelly Marie's 21st birthday. Think about that. Kelly Marie Anthony would have been 21 years old. Kelly McClellan, 2946. Vinnie, it saddens me to see some remarks. I live this and the system stinks. They kick me out in 72 hours because of insurance. Throw a pill at you and call it a fix. The system is broken. And hopefully the discussion in this case will wake some people up. Hopefully. All right, folks. Oh, wow. I've been on for quite some time. The Pine 7. The defense attorney sits there, huffs and puffs, makes noises, snarls at the state Commonwealth, and even argues with the judge, hand-holding with his defendant as she sobs, disrupting the courtroom. The Pine 7, not loving Kevin Reddington. And Gabriel, the Magalore, Maine. But why change shoes between CVS and 3V? Not before getting in the car or after the house? I don't get their logic. And how long do you think the jury will be out? Predicting juries is tough. It's a long case, a lot of witnesses, a lot of testimony. My general rule of how long an average jury takes is about a day of deliberations for every week of trial. So if this is like a 4-week trial or 5-week trial, we could have about a week of deliberations before it becomes a long deliberation. That's where I would start. Jane Mocker. Vinnie is a saint, Frankie. St. Vincent. Wasn't there a movie, St. Vincent? Mm-hmm. All right. Here we go. Janet Stutter. Vinnie, come on. Why did he change his shoes? Okay. It'd be one thing like if there's video of him in the house before she goes out the window, and then he's got one pair of shoes on, then puts on like what advantage would you get from changing your shoes from CVS to 3V? Like, why? But like, what does it mean? Like, what could it possibly mean? Did he notice that he had blood on his boots, so he had to change? Is that what it is? But he's got boots in the bottom right. His right foot has a boot in the bottom right. Look at that. Bottom right, I circled it. This person was looking at the unzipping coat, right? But I circled the boot in the bottom right. And once again, I'll point out, why did he change the color of his hair from the vestibule of CVS to being inside the store? Because if you look at the top left, he's got, clearly has black, dark brown, black hair, and he's got light brown hair on the top right. So clearly he changed the color of his hair, maybe changed toupees or did a quick dye job. I'm not sure. Maybe use that Sun-In. Do you remember Sun-In? You would spray it on your hair before you went in the sun. It would make you go blonde. I don't know. I just think the lighting's a little different, and these cameras are not as good as my camera. I have a real good camera in my studio. All right. All right, people. It's Sunday night. I need to get to sleep. I got a big day tomorrow on Court TV. Vinnie Politan Investigates every night, 8 o'clock on Court TV. Plus, we post the show every night on Court TV's YouTube channel. Make sure you are following and subscribing over there. Do I have any other things I have to get to? You know, there was sort of the thing I want to get to, and I don't know if she's even watching tonight, but I did find this video that I did for Kim. So I don't know if Kim is watching tonight, but I'll play this shortened version for Kim. The longer version will be posted online, but this is for our viewer Kim.
King George born, King George raised, 3 great kids, 7 grandbabes, 2 dogs, 2 cats by her side. Big old heart full of pride. Always cooking, always making. Dreams are hers for the taking. That's Kim, that's Kim. Big heart, big grin. Loves her family, loves her pets. Soft true crime without a sweat. That's Kim, always in. Living life with with all she's got. That's Kim.
All right, Kim. So we're going to post that, the long version, online. If anyone knows Kim, let her know. Let her know. All right. All right, folks. We got to do one more thing. It is, we're still in Q3. If you want to qualify for a big prize, in a moment, you will have to guess my blood sugar, but it has not started yet, so do not guess yet. You have to wait till the music starts. I am just getting my number so I know what it is. I've got my number. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, get set. For those of you who don't know, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I do have my diabetes under control. Today's a good day. Those are my only clues. Those are my only clues.
Is a type 1. He's type 1. His pancreas is on fruits.
What?
He has diabetes, type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar? Under 70, he gets laced head. Under 60, all the alarms start ringing. Over 180, he starts to get lethargic. But when it's 90, Vinnie, eyes are singing. And so it's time to guess, is it more or less? What's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar? But take a guess.
Wow.
Yes, take a guess. Let's guess Vinnie's blood sugar now.
This is crazy. It was literally the first guess out of anyone. It was the first one that popped up. Nina Chandra. Wow. I got to put you on the list here now. You've qualified for the big spinning wheel. Today is the 9th, and it is Nina Chandra setting a new blood sugar record. The first guess by the first person to get their guess through when the music started got it. That's amazing. All right, Nina. Stay tuned to the end of Q3 for the spinning wheel for a chance to win a great prize. All right, folks. This week, for those of you who have signed up for the lottery for the Tangent Fest 26, those of you who signed up, we're going to have the drawing this week. Me, Alan Jonesy are going to do a special pop-up drawing to determine the lottery winners, those who then have a chance to come to Tangent Fest 26. There's a limited number of tickets. So people signed up. We've got a lot of entries. We're going to pick names out of the box. I have the box. Where's the box? This big box is filled with entries, and we will pick out the limited number of winners who will then send us money and be confirmed at Tangent Fest 26 Columbus Day weekend in Bergen County, New Jersey. It's going to be amazing. So that's coming up this week. We'll have a Tangent podcast this week. You've got my show, The Clancy Trial, all week. I'll also be posting some Vinnie After Darks and I might do another live stream this week as well. But I think that's it. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Did I cover everything? I think I covered it all. I got the sugar, I got this. That's it, folks. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, of course, to the amazing Mod Squad. They don't get a lot of notice, but they jump on and help us through this. Here we go. How much money does one have to pay you? Pussycat TV. I think the number to cover the nut, the tour bus, and the show, I think it's like $185, and then we've got discounted rooms you can get at a newly refurbished hotel in Bergen County, New Jersey. Oh, it's going to be amazing. We've got a big bus. Move that bus. So there you go. All right, Pussycat TV, you got to sign it quickly because tick tock, you don't stop. It's going to be amazing. All right, I got to go. You got to go. We got to get some rest. Big day tomorrow on Court TV all day long. You can watch the trial. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
It's that time to say goodbye. Thank you for watching Vinnie Live. We'll be back, but I don't know when. We hope that you will watch again. Vinnie Live. It's Vinnie Live. Whoa, it's Vinnie Live. Thank you to our awesome mods. Thank you for those super chats. Please hit the like and do subscribe. Let's do it again on Vinnie Live. Now before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything. Vinnie Live. It's Vinnie Live. Whoa, Vinnie Live. It's Vinnie Live. Whoa, it's Vinnie Live. Now before you go, just one more thing. Please post below. Say anything, Thank you. God bless you. We'll see you again. Thank you. God bless you. We'll see you again.